What's going on, fellas? Welcome back to Peak Performance Engineering. I'm Brandon, and today we're working on our 1965.0 Mustang. And what we're going to be doing today is, now that we've finished the brake install, what we've got left to do is we need to replace the transmission pan gasket as well as the transmission filter, and then just do a simple oil change. So should be pretty simple, basic stuff. Hopefully we don't run into too many snags like we do, it seems like always with this car. But our current transmission pan gasket is beat. It is leaking. Every time I jack the car up and it gets on an angle, fluid is coming out of that bad boy. So I'm sure the fluid's very old too. So we're gonna get that all changed out. So I did just get a cheap filter from like O'Reilly's. It was like $12, very inexpensive for these cars. Some fluid from Walmart. Yes, Walmart. I always like to use Walmart fluids just because they're so cheap. This is a full synthetic, high mileage transmission oil, and it was, super cheap. I'm a big fan of like their synthetic oils. I mean, all this stuff meets the standards and whatever the certifications are, ANSPI, I don't know, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, who cares? Basically, the stuff works. I've been using it for 10 plus years. I've never had any issues. Just kind of grabbed a cheap filter. I know a lot of guys do hate these Fram filters, but I like that they have that sure grip on them. It does make it easier to get the thing on and off. Especially like for us, we're gonna be on this hot rod power tour, and if this thing starts leaking or something weird happens where I need to like pull the filter to check it, I mean, I can easily just on the side of the road grab this filter and pop it off. So that's why I like to use them. Again, whatever, if you hate it, I don't care. But it works for me. I've never had an issue. I've never had a motor fail. So it is what it is, right? So anyway, let's go ahead and get started on this. I'll get underneath the car. Now on our particular engine, this is supposedly a 1988 5-liter EFI from like a Mustang GT. So I guess there was two different pan bolt types. There was a 14 bolt and an 18 bolt for this year. So I crawled underneath. Our car takes an 18 bolt, a 14 bolt. So we got the 14 bolt pan gasket. So we'll get this stuck on, replace this filter, and we'll be good to go.
So I'm just sorry about the weird video, but I'm underneath the car right now. So I'm looking up at the oil pan. This side's not so bad, but definitely up here by this rear main seal, we've got a lot of oil seepage. So what I did was I just kind of went through, especially on this side. See if I can get back a bit. Here's the filter. So you can see this side's just got a lot of seepage coming through. So I went through on a few of the bolts, well, basically every bolt I could, and just tried to see if I could give her, quarter turn, half turn, snug her up a little bit, just because we're not going to be replacing on this pan right now. Too much stuff in the way, cross members. I don't have a lift. For me, this is easier just to pull the whole motor out, and so this is kind of a winter project. So I'm just hoping maybe we snugged it up just a little bit, just to maybe help it. Once I change this oil, I'll probably put in some like stop leak stuff, and maybe that'll help keep the leaks down. But this isn't so bad. We get a few drips here and there that are hitting the ground, but it's not as crazy as like the oh, what's this? Interesting. Not as crazy as like the transmission, where that's getting a lot more fluid, but it looks like the transmission will be pretty simple. It looks like it's about 10 millimeter bolts, 10 millimeter size, and there's 14 of those bad boys to pop off. This so far was like a weird combination of for some reason, even though this is like an 88 motor, this was all standard SAE bolts, like 1/2 inch and 3/8. So it's kind of weird. And then the trans is definitely 10 millimeters. So anyway, kind of interesting, but just a little tidbit. So stuff like this, sometimes you can do what I just did and tighten this down. It'll help a little bit, but chances are it's still going to leak, but maybe it'll stop it, 2 or 3%. That'd be nice. All right, so the hard part's done. I just got the oil pan off of the underside of the car, the transmission oil pan that is. So that was quite a mess. There's a whole lot of fluid underneath this Mustang. Let's get down there, I'll show you. All right, so we got our 14 bolts. Here's our pan. And our fluid, it's not terrible. It's not super burned. It looks really dark in this footage here, but yeah, you can see it's not terrible, but it is what it is. We made quite a mess under here. But when you're underneath the car and you don't have a lift, there's not a lot of great options, right? So I just did the normal thing, took off all the side bolts, and then I kind of left a couple here. I dropped these down first, just lowering them. And then a lot of the fluid started dripping out. So I tried to catch as much as I could in the pan. And then once that was done, I just kind of got under it with one hand and my other hand with the gun, zipped off these last two, and then I kind of just let it hang the one way to drip, a lot more of it out, and then I was able to get it down. So, it's still messy. It sucks, but I don't know why. Why? Tell me why. Who's an engineer that can tell me why there's not a drain plug on the bottom of most of your transmissions? I know sometimes in the aftermarket you can get aftermarket pans with the drain plug, but gosh, just makes it so much easier. So all right, so that's it. We're gonna get this recycled, and we'll get this pan all cleaned up, and then we'll pop in the new gasket, and we'll get that filter blown off. Let me show you what that looks like. So this is our filter. We got a little gasket you got to put here. Don't forget about that bad boy. But it's just 3 bolts. And then in the instructions, they do tell you to be careful on this application, because you do need to make sure you torque these filter attaching bolts to 80 to 100 inch-pounds, which is about 8 to 10 foot-pounds. So we'll probably just set the gun for 9, and set the ratchet for 9, shoot for that. We should be good. So again, this is pretty simple deal. Just pop it in, bolt it back on, make sure that filter's there. We'll clean our pan, we'll put our gasket on. Now, some trick that I do with these gaskets sometimes is I'll put this into place, and then just to hold it into place, because we'll have to maneuver a little bit the pan. We can't just put it straight on, because there is like a cross member or something there. We'll probably just take some like silicone, some black RTV silicone, just something like this. So I'll probably dab this in a few spots just to help hold the gasket on. And that's really all it is, just gonna hold it in place, then we can get all the bolts through, all that good stuff. And we should be good with this job, and then we'll quickly change the oil, which that's like nothing, but we'll get that done, and then we'll see. Well, if we have time, we'll get her off the jack stands, because I need to get the car back onto the wheels, down onto the wheels, so that these shocks will shoot up, and then I'll be able to get the export brace on and get the little holder thingamadoodles for this. And then this whole car would be drivable at that point. So if we can get that done today, that would be awesome. And then what I'm hoping is on Monday morning, I can take this thing over to Bell Tire. And I'm gonna have Bell Tire check the wheels and tires for mount for balancing. It looks like there's no, there's no weights on these wheels. So we need to get these things balanced. I'm gonna have them check the alignment on all 4, especially since I just did all new shocks and all that stuff. And then I may also see while I'm there if Bell Tire can just fix this muffler deal. Like I was telling you guys before, the dude replaced only 1 muffler. He just cut this one off, put a straight pipe, left the other Flowmaster muffler. I don't know, really weird. So I just need them to cut that. I also want them to kind of move this pipe a little bit, because right now it's blocking the access bolt, like the bolt that goes for the front driver's seatbelt. When it goes through the car, it's like literally just touching the exhaust. So to be able to get a bolt through, I need that moved back about 1 inch. So I'm hoping they can just take care of all that for me Monday or Tuesday, and then I can get the car back and be cruising Woodward by Wednesday. So that's kind of my goal right now. Let's see how we do. Oh yeah, so you can see, look how dirty this thing is. I mean, you couldn't even see that Ford emblem originally. So yeah, definitely good that we're doing this, getting this all cleaned out, getting a new filter in there. We haven't had any issues with the transmission, but yeah, hopefully this will help extend her little life. I'm hoping eventually we swap this thing out to a stick. Maybe just put in like a T5, because I think they're an easy swap for this chassis. But who knows? I mean, if it runs good, a lot of times I do sticks on stuff, but maybe we'll just keep the auto. Maybe next time we'll pull this back off and actually put in a shift kit, or maybe if we pull the whole motor, we'll just put in a big stall converter, big old nasty cam in this thing, and maybe keep the auto just for something different. I don't know, but I still think this thing would be just so badass with like a 5-speed with the big old shifter sticking up with the white ball. I mean, that's just what you think of when you think of an old classic Mustang like this. Am I right? All right, so we got our pan gasket all cleaned. Well, pan gasket's laid out. Our transmission pan is all clean. Look at that difference, right? She looks brand new. Now we just got to get it back underneath the car. Let's clean up all the mess and kind of dry off the bottom, and then we can get those 3 bolts off for the old trans filter. We'll get that all swapped out, torqued down, taken care of, and then boom, we can just pop this thing back in, start getting her filled up, and then also I'll probably pull the filter off the oil, and we'll drain the oil, and we'll do that all at the same time. All right, changing the oil. Good thing we are, because it is black. It must have been a long time since they did an oil change on this bad boy. So good thing we're doing it. We'll get that filter off. I'm still kind of just waiting back there. I did get the old trans filter off. I'm just kind of waiting for that transmission to get out as many drips as it can, and then I'll probably move that pan, and then we'll be able to get that new filter in place and button this up on the underside. All right, so I'm gonna put some oil now in this new oil filter. Now, one thing to note is for this old Mustang, it seems like it's got great oil pressure when it fires up, 60 PSI, but once it gets pretty hot, it's showing, the gauge is showing like down to like 20. So it seems like a little bit low. So I wanted to get some 40 weight this time just to stick in there, at least for this Hot Rod Power Tour. And then, like I said, there's not many shows left and opportunities to drive it through the rest of this year before it gets cold. So over winter, I'm sure we'll pull it and we'll put a new oil pump in this thing. We'll do a bunch of stuff. But anyway, I wanted some 40 weight. So Mobile One does make some high mileage stuff. And like I said, usually I just get this whatever Super Tech brand of synthetic. Like that's what's running in the death cart. But this was only like a couple bucks more, and the problem was the Super Tech didn't have the 40 weight in like a high mileage engine oil. So this had kind of everything I wanted. So yeah, we're gonna give this a shot, get this all in there and get it rocking. But again, if you didn't catch me when I said it the first time, Walmart is the absolute best place to buy oil. I haven't found anywhere cheaper. If you know somewhere better, let me know. I know sometimes there are like Costco deals where you can get, cases of stuff, but for the most part, you got to go to Walmart. It's so cheap. I mean, you can get like a 5-quart thing of fully synthetic. It's like $15-16. And I think this was only like $20. So really, really cheap compared to going to like AutoZone and O'Reilly's and all that stuff where they just charge you an arm and a leg. All right, guys, so we got the transmission filter, all that stuff's back on, torque down, should be good to go. Oil's already changed, so now we're just gonna start pouring in the new oil. So not really sure how much oil this thing takes. I'm assuming it's like 5 quarts, but I think I'm gonna put in 4, we'll check it. Same for the transmission, I'm not really too sure. So I'm probably gonna put in 4 quarts and then we'll check it. We'll probably have to run the car, check it, fill it, but since there's no drain on it, you definitely don't want to overfill it because the only way to get that stuff out of there is to pull the pan again, which we don't want to do that, right? So we'll just let her drink on her new Mobile One high mileage synthetic here. Hopefully she'll be happy with that. I also noticed the previous owner had some really, really small oil filter. And it fit fine, it's the right thread and stuff, but wasn't the right filter for the car. So the right one for the car is kind of a much larger capacity, so probably doesn't make a difference, especially for the kind of cruising around we do. But yeah, you want to make sure you got the right filter on your vehicle. All right, so that's probably cool. It's like 4 quarts, so we'll check it, see what happens. But next thing is now that we got this thing on the ground, we can start to actually mess with this suspension. So I got to go get that cross brace on, and then we'll probably have to jack the car up a little bit to be able to push this shock down and get it bolted. But basically that's it. Once that's done, we can drive this thing. So probably won't get to it today because I'm leaving later on. I got to do some work and then go up north. But Sunday we could take it for a ride, and then hopefully Monday drop it off at Bell Tire like I was telling you guys. So apparently with these AOD transmissions, a lot of the information I'm finding says that the transmission holds a total of 12 quarts, which is crazy. So, but apparently the bulk of that is in the torque converter. And I guess there's like a bung on the torque converter that you can actually drain the fluid from the torque converter. We are not going to be doing that today, but maybe it's something good to do. Like I said, in the wintertime if we pull the motor. But anyway, it says that maybe just for the pan holds about 3 quarts, which that seems kind of low because then you're talking like 9 quarts in the torque converter. But anyway, so I just put in 3 quarts. So anyway, once we get this thing started, we'll obviously have to put it, we'll have to start it up and then actually check it, when it's hot in whatever, neutral or idling, whatever, however how you do it. But we'll do that later. But we got the oil all in, we got the trans fluid in. So now I'm going to move on to see if I can get these bolts started to get done for these shocks. So one thing I had to do with these is these are just studs, the kind of 3 studs that go in here. So they're originally just, some crappy bolts, but they're kind of like just old school flat, like square carriage bolts to hold it in. And what the guys that, the previous owners had just literally put like regular ass bolts in there. So what was happening when we were trying to get these off was the nut was just spinning. We ended up having to like wedge screwdrivers in there. What a pain in the ass. So I went to the hardware store. I got the correct kind of carriage bolts. And these are stainless steel, so that way they'll be a little bit nicer. But the problem I was having is you can see how they're loose. This one I actually had to, well, when it was up in the air, I actually had to wedge it in with a screwdriver, but now it's kind of loose now that the car's on the ground. So anyway, it's interesting. But when I was jacking this and moving it, actually, like I lost one on this side and I lost a screw thing on that side. And basically they fall down into like the frame of the car and you can't get them. Like they're just lost forever. So I'm not going to be able to probably finish this today. I need to go to the hardware store, pick up a couple more of these bolts. But so that kind of sucks, but whatever. It shouldn't take too long. Once I get these new bolts, it's literally just putting on the export brace. I don't know where it went. Oh, right here. So popping this guy back on, and then like these little shock tower piece deal. So I ended up painting all this stuff a couple weeks ago, just so it looks a little bit nicer. But that's it, guys. Once this is all on, the next video, we're going to be out driving this thing. So pretty stoked about it. So I think we're going to end this one here. It's it's kind of a shorter video, I guess. Not a lot of content, but we did make a lot of progress. I was a little bit worried about getting that transmission pan stuff done, and at least that went relatively smooth other than the huge mess on the ground I'm going to have to clean up, get some kitty litter. But everything went good. So have a great weekend, guys. We'll talk to you later. We'll start the next video probably on Sunday when I get back, and hopefully we'll have some driving footage of this thing rocking once again. So hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Let me know if you think it sucks or it's awesome, whatever. What should we do next to this thing? I think I'm going to keep this thing long term. So I've got some things planned, like I said, pulling this motor, maybe doing a cam swap, maybe a supercharger setup for a Fox body. We'll adapt it to fit. Some cool stuff coming. So stay tuned, guys. Take care.